This is Vergil's Aeneid, translated into English by Robert Fitzgerald. Book 2. The room fell silent, and all eyes were on him, as Father Aeneas, from his high couch, began. Sorrow too deep to tell, your majesty, you order me to feel, and tell once more, how the Danaans leveled in the dust the splendor of our mourned forever kingdom. Heart-breaking things I saw with my own eyes, and was myself a part of. Who could tell them, even a Myrmidon or a Dolopian or a ruffian of Ulysses, without tears? Now, too, the night is well along, with dewfall out of heaven, and setting stars weigh down our heads toward sleep. But if so great desire moves you to hear the tale of our disasters, briefly recalled, the final throes of Troy, however I may shudder at the memory and shrink again in grief, let me begin. Knowing their strength broken in warfare, turned back by the fates, and years, so many years, already slipped away, the Danaan captains by the divine handicraft of Pallas built a horse of timber, tall as a hill, and sheathed its ribs with planking of cut pine. This they gave out to be an offering for a safe return by sea, and the word went round. But on the sly they shut inside a company, chosen from their picked soldiery by lot, crowding the vaulted caverns in the dark, the horse's belly, with men fully armed. Offshore, there's a long island, Tenedos, famous and rich while Priam's kingdom lasted, a treacherous anchorage now, and nothing more. They crossed to this, and hid their ships behind it, on the bare shore beyond. We thought they'd gone, sailing home to Mycenae before the wind. So Teucer's town is freed of her long anguish, gates thrown wide. And out we go in joy to see the Dorian campsites all deserted, the beach they left behind. Here the Dolopians pitch their tents, here cruel Achilles lodged, there lay the ships, and there, formed up in ranks, they came inland to fight us. Of our men, one group stood marveling, gaping up to see the dire gift of the cold, unbedded goddess, the sheer mass of the horse. Thymoetes shouts, it should be hauled inside the walls and moored high on the citadel, whether by treason or just because Troy's fate went that way now. Copies opposed him, so did the wiser heads. Into the sea with it, they said, or burn it. Build up a bonfire under it, this trick of the Greeks, a gift no one can trust, or cut it open, search the hollow belly. Contrary notions pulled the crowd apart. Next thing we knew, in front of everyone, Laocoön, with a great company, came furiously running from the height, and still far off cried out, "Oh, my poor people, men of Troy, what madness has come over you? Can you believe the enemy truly gone? A gift from the Danaans, and no ruse? Is that Ulysses' way, as you have known him? Achaeans must be hiding in this timber, for it was built to butt against our walls, peer over them into our houses, pelt the city from the sky. Some crookedness is in this thing. Have no faith in the horse, whatever it is. Even when Greeks bring gifts, I fear them, gifts and all. He broke off then, and rifled his big spear with all his might against the horse's flank, the curve of belly. It stuck there trembling, and the rounded hull reverberated, groaning at the blow. If the gods' will had not been sinister, if our own minds had not been crazed, he would have made us foul that Argive den with bloody steel, and Troy would stand today, O citadel of Priam, towering still. But now look, hillmen, shepherds of Dardania, raising a shout, dragged in before the king, an unknown fellow with hands tied behind. This all as he himself had planned, volunteering, letting them come across him, so he could open Troy to the Achaeans. Sure of himself this man was, braced for it either way, to work his trick or die. From every quarter, Trojans run to see him, ring the prisoner round, and make a game of jeering at him. Oh, be instructed now in Greek deceptive arts. One barefaced deed can tell you of them all. As the man stood there, shaken and defenseless, looking round at ranks of Phrygians, "Oh, God," he said, "what land on earth, what seas can take me in? What's left me in the end, outcast that I am from the Danaans? Now the Dardanians will have my blood." The whimpering speech brought us up short. We felt a twinge for him. "Let him speak up," we said. "Tell us where he was born, what news he brought, what he could hope for as a prisoner." Oh, taking his time, slow to discard his fright, he said, "I'll tell you the whole truth, my lord, no matter what may come of it. Argive I am by birth, and will not say I'm not. That first of all, fortune has made a derelict of Sinon, but the bitch won't make an empty liar of him too. Report of Palamedes may have reached you, scion of Belus' line, a famous man who gave commands against the war. For this, on trumped-up charge, on perjured testimony, the Greeks put him to death. But now they mourn him, now he has lost the light. Being kin to him in my first years, I joined him as companion, sent by my poor old father on this campaign, and while he held high rank and influence in royal councils, we did well with honor. Then, by the guile and envy of Ulysses, nothing unheard of there, he left this world, and I lived on, but under a cloud, in sorrow, raging for my blameless friend's downfall. Demented, too, I could not hold my peace, but said, if I had luck, if I won through again to Argos, I'd avenge him there. And I roused hatred with my talk. I fell afoul now of that man. From that time on, day in, day out, Ulysses found new ways to bait and terrify me, putting out shady rumors among the troops, looking for weapons he could use against me. He could not rest till Calchas served his turn. Oh, but why go on? The tale's unwelcome, useless, if Achaeans are all one, and it's enough I'm called Achaean. Then exact the punishment long overdue. The Ithacan desires it, the Atridae would pay well for it. And burning with curiosity, we questioned him, called on him to explain. Unable to conceive such a performance, the art of the Pelasgian, he went on, a tremble, as though he feared us. Oh, many times the Danaans wished to organize retreat, to leave Troy and the long war tired out. Oh, if only they had done it! Heavy weather at sea closed down on them, or a fresh gale from the southwest would keep them from embarking. Most of all, after this figure here, this horse they put together with maple beams reached its full height. Then wind and thunderstorms rumbled in heaven. So in our quandary, we sent Eurypylus to Phoebus's oracle, and he brought back this grim reply. Blood and the virgins slain you gave to appease the winds for your first voyage Troyward, O Danaans. Blood again, and Argive blood, one life wins your return. When this got round among the soldiers, gloom came over them, and a cold chill that ran to the very marrow. Who had death in store? Whom did Apollo call for? Well, now the man of Ithaca hailed Calchas out among us in tumult, calling on the seer to tell the true will of the gods. Ah, there were many able to divine the crookedness and cruelty afoot for me, but they looked on in silence. For 10 days the seer kept still, kept under cover, would not speak of anyone or name a man for death, till driven to it at last by Ulysses' cries, by prearrangement, he broke silence barely enough to designate me for the altar. Every last man agreed. The torments each had feared for himself now shifted to another. All could endure. And the infamous day came. The ritual, the salted meal, the fillets. I broke free. I confess it, broke my chains, hid myself all night in a muddy marsh concealed by reeds, waiting for them to sail, if they were going to. Now no hope is left me of seeing my home country ever again. My sweet children, my father, missed for years. Oh, perhaps the army will demand they pay for my escape, my crime here, and their death, poor things, will be my punishment. Ah, sir, I beg you by the gods above, the powers in whom truth lives, and by what faith remains uncontaminated to men, take pity on pain so great and so unmerited. For tears we gave him life, and pity too. Priam himself ordered the gyves removed and the tight chain between. In kindness, then, he said to him, "Whoever you may be, the Greeks are gone. Forget them from now on. You shall be ours. And answer me these questions. Who put this huge thing up, this horse? Who designed it? What do they want with it? Is it religious or a means of war?" These were his questions. Then the captive, trained in trickery, in the stagecraft of Achaia, lifted his hands unfettered to the stars. "Eternal fires of heaven," he began, "powers inviolable, I swear by thee, as by the altars and blaspheming swords I got away from, and the gods' white bands I wore as one chosen for sacrifice. This is justice. I am justified in dropping all allegiance to the Greeks, as I had cause to hate them. I may bring into the open what they would keep dark. No laws of my own country bind me now. Only be sure you keep your promises, and keep faith, Troy, as you are kept from harm. If what I say proves true, if what I give is great and valuable." The whole hope of the Danaans and their confidence in the war they started rested all along in help from Pallas. Then the night came when Diomedes and that criminal Ulysses dared to raid her holy shrine. They killed the guards on the high citadel and ripped away the statue, the Palladium, desecrating with bloody hands the virginal chaplets of the goddess. After that, Danaan hopes waned and were undermined, ebbing away, their strength in battle broken, the goddess now against them. This she made evident to them all with signs and portents. Just as they set her statue up in camp, the eyes cast upward glowed with crackling flames, and salty sweat ran down the body. Then, I say it in all, 3 times up from the ground, the apparition of the goddess rose in a lightning flash, with shield and spear a-tremble. Calchas divined at once that the sea crossing must be attempted in retreat, that Pergamum cannot be torn apart by Argive swords, unless at Argos first they beg new omens, carrying homeward the divine power brought overseas in ships. Now they are gone before the wind to the fatherland Mycenae, gone to enlist new troops and gods. Oh, they'll cross the water again and be here unforeseen. So Calchas read the portents. Warned by him, they set up this figure in reparation for the palladium stolen, to appease the offended power and expiate the crime. Enormous though, he made them build the thing, with timber braces towering to the sky, too big for the gates, not to be hauled inside, and give the people back their ancient guardian. If any hand here violates this gift to great Minerva, then extinction waits, not for one only, oh, would God it were so, but for the realm of Priam and all Phrygians. If this proud offering, drawn by your hands, should mount into your city, then so far as the walls of Pelops' town, the tide of Asia surges in war. That doom awaits our children. This fraud of Sinon, his accomplished lying, won us over. A tall tale and fake tears had captured us, whom neither Diomedes nor Larissaean Achilles overpowered, nor 10 long years, nor all their 1,000 ships. And now another sign, more fearful still, broke on our blind, miserable people, filling us all with dread. Laocoön, acting as Neptune's priest that day by lot, was on the point of putting to the knife a massive bull before the appointed altar, when, look there, from Tenedos on the calm sea, twin snakes, I shiver to recall it, endlessly coiling, uncoiling, swam abreast for shore, their underbellies showing as their crests reared red as blood above the swell. Behind they glided with great undulating backs. Now came the sound of thrashed sea-water foaming. Now they were on dry land, and we could see their burning eyes, fiery and suffused with blood, their tongues a flicker out of hissing maws. We scattered pale with fright, but straight ahead they slid until they reached Laocoön. Each snake enveloped one of his 2 boys, twining about and feeding on the body. Next they ensnared the man as he ran up with weapons. Coils like cables looped and bound him, twice round the middle, twice about his throat. They whipped their back scales, their heads towered, while with both hands he fought to break the knots. Drenched in slime, his headbands black with venom, sending to heaven his appalling cries. Like a slashed bull escaping from an altar, the fumbled axe shrugged off. The pair of snakes now flowed away and made for the highest shrines, the citadel of pitiless Minerva, where coiling they took cover at her feet under the rondure of her shield. New terrors ran in the shaken crowd. The word went round, Laocoön had paid, and rightfully, for profanation of the sacred hulk, with his offending spear hurled at its flank. The offering must be hauled to its true home, they clamored. Votive prayers to the goddess must be said there. So we breached the walls and laid the city open. Everyone pitched in to get the figure underpinned with rollers, hempen lines around the neck. Deadly, pregnant with enemies, the horse crawled upward to the breach, and boys and girls sang hymns round the tow rope as for joy they touched it. Rolling on, it cast a shadow over the city's heart. O fatherland! O Ilium, home of gods! Defensive wall, renowned in war for Dardanus's people. There, on the very threshold of the breach, it jarred to a halt 4 times. 4 times the arms in the belly thrown together made a sound. Yet on we strove, unmindful, deaf and blind, to place the monster on our blessed height. Then, even then, Cassandra's lips unsealed the doom to come. Lips, by a god's command, never believed or heeded by the Trojans. So pitiable we, for whom that day would be the last, made all our temples green with leafy festal boughs throughout the city. As heaven turned, night from the ocean stream came on, profound in gloom on earth and sky, and Myrmidons in hiding. In their homes the Teucrians lay silent, wearied out, and sleep enfolded them. The Argive fleet, drawn up in line abreast, left Tenedos, through the aloof moon's friendly stillnesses, and made for the familiar shore. Flame signal shone from the command ship. Sinon, favored by what the gods unjustly had decreed, stole out to tap the pine walls and set free the Danaans in the belly. Opened wide, the horse emitted men. Gladly they dropped out of the cavern, captains first, Thassandrus, Sthenelus, and the man of iron Ulysses. Hand over hand upon the rope, Acamas, Thoas, Neoptolemus, and Prince Machaon, Menelaus, and then the master builder, Epeus, who designed the horse decoy. Into the darkened city, buried deep in sleep and wine, they made their way, cut the few sentries down, let in their fellow soldiers at the gate, and joined their combat companies as planned. That time of night it was when the first sleep, gift of the gods, begins for ill mankind, arriving gradually, delicious rest. In sleep, in dream, Hector appeared to me, gaunt with sorrow, streaming tears, all torn, as by the violent car on his death day, and black with bloody dust, his puffed out feet cut by the rawhide thongs. Oh God, the look of him! How changed from that proud Hector who returned to Troy wearing Achilles' armor, or that one who pitched the torches on Danaan ships. His beard all filth, his hair matted with blood, showing the many wounds received outside his father's city walls. I seemed myself to weep, and call upon the man in grieving speech brought from the depth of me. Light of Dardania, best hope of Troy, what kept you from us for so long, and where? From what far place, O Hector, have you come, long, long awaited, after so many deaths of friends and brothers, after a world of pain, for all our folk and all our town at last? Bone weary we behold you. What has happened to ravage your serene face? Why these wounds? He wasted no reply on my poor questions, but heaved a great sigh from his chest and said, I give up and go, child of the goddess. Save yourself out of these flames. The enemy holds the city walls, and from her height Troy falls in ruin. Fatherland and Priam have their due. If by one hand our towers could be defended, by this hand, my own, they would have been. Her holy things, her gods of hearth and household, Troy commends to you. Accept them as companions of your days. Go find for them the great walls that one day you'll dedicate when you have roamed the sea. As he said this, he brought out from the sanctuary chaplets and Vesta, Lady of the Hearth, with her eternal fire. And while I dreamed, the turmoil rose with anguish in the city. More and more, although Anchises' house lay in seclusion, muffled among the trees, the din at the grim onset grew. And now I shook off sleep. I climbed to the rooftop to cup my ears and listen, and the sound was like the sound a grass fire makes in grain, whipped by a south wind, or a torrent foaming out of a mountainside to strew in ruined fields happy crops, the yield of plowing teams, or woodlands borne off in the flood. And in wonder the shepherd listens on a rocky peak. Oh, I knew then what our trust had won for us, knew the Danaan fraud, Deiphobus's great house in flames already caving in under the overpowering god of fire, Ucalegon's already caught nearby, the glare lighting the straits beyond Sigaeum, the cries of men, the wild calls of the trumpets. To arm was my first maddened impulse. Not that anyone had a fighting chance in arms, only I burned to gather up some force for combat, to man some high redoubt. So fury drove me, and it came to me that meeting death was beautiful in arms. Then here, eluding the Achaean spears, came Panthus, Orthras' son, priest of Apollo, carrying holy things, our conquered gods, and pulling a small grandchild along. He ran despairing to my doorway. Where's the crux, Panthus? I said. What strong point shall we hold? Before I could say more, he groaned and answered, The last day for Dardania has come, the hour not to be fought off any longer. Trojans we have been, Ilium has been. The glory of the Teucrians is no more. Black Jupiter has passed it on to Argos. Greeks are the masters in our burning city. Tall as a cliff, set in the heart of town, their horse pours out armed men. The conqueror, gloating Sinon, brews new conflagrations. Troops hold the gates, as many thousand men as ever came from great Mycenae. Others block the lanes with crossed spears, glittering in a combat line. Sword blades are drawn for slaughter. Even the first guards at the gates can barely offer battle or blindly make a stand. Impelled by these words, by the powers of heaven, into the flames I go, into the fight, where the harsh fury and the din and shouting skyward rising calls. Crossing my path in moonlight, five fell in with me, companions, Riphaeus and Epitus, a great soldier, Hippanes and Dimos, cleaving to my side with young Coroebus, Mygdon's son. Oh, it happened that in those very days this man had come to Troy, aflame with passion for Cassandra, bringing to Priam and the Phrygians a son-in-law's right hand. Unlucky one, to have been deaf to what his bride foretold. Now, when I saw them grouped on edge for battle, I took it all in, and said briefly, Soldiers, brave as you are to no end, if you crave to face the last fight with me, and no doubt of it, how matters stand for us each one can see. The gods by whom this kingdom stood are gone. Gone from the shrines and altars. You defend a city lost in flames. Come, let us die. We'll make a rush into the thick of it. The conquered have one safety. Hope for none. And the desperate odds doubled their fighting spirit. From that time on, like predatory wolves in fog and darkness, when a savage hunger drives them blindly on, and cubs in lairs lie waiting with dry, famished jaws, just so, through arrow flights and enemies, we ran toward our sure death, straight for the city's heart. Cavernous black night over and around us. Who can describe the havoc of that night, or tell the deaths, or tally wounds with tears? The ancient city falls, after dominion many long years. In windrows, on the streets, in homes, on solemn porches of the gods, dead bodies lie. And not alone, the Trojans pay the price with their heart's blood. At times, manhood returns to fire even the conquered, and Danaan conquerors fall. Grief everywhere, everywhere terror, and all shapes of death. Androgeus was the first to cross our path, leading a crowd of Greeks. He took for granted that we were friends and hailed us cheerfully. "Men, get a move on! Are you made of lead to be so late and slow? The rest are busy carrying plunder from the fires and towers. Are you just landed from the ships?" His words were barely out and no reply forthcoming credible to him, when he knew himself fallen among enemies. Thunderstruck, he halted, foot and voice, and then recoiled, like one who steps down on a lurking snake in a briar patch and jerks back, terrified, as the angry thing rears up, all puffed and blue. So backward went Androgeus in panic. We were all over them in a moment, cut at and thrust, as they fought on unknown ground, startled, unnerved. We killed them everywhere. So fortune filled our sails at first. Coroebus, elated at our feat and his own courage, said, "Friends, come, follow fortune. She has shown the way to safety, shown she's on our side. We'll take their shields, put on their insignia. Trickery? Bravery? Who asks in war? The enemy will arm us." He put on the plumed helm of Androgeus, took the shield with blazon and the Greek sword to his side. Riphaeus, Demas, all were pleased to do it, making the still fresh trophies our equipment. Then we went on, passing among the Greeks, protected by our own gods, now no longer. Many a combat hand to hand we fought in the black night, and many a Greek we sent to Orcus. There were some who turned and ran back to the ships and shore. Some shamefully clambered again into the horse to hide in the familiar paunch. When gods are contrary, they stand by no one. Here before us came Cassandra, Priam's virgin daughter, dragged by her long hair out of Minerva's shrine, lifting her brilliant eyes in vain to heaven, her eyes alone, as her white hands were bound. Coroebus, infuriated, could not bear it, but plunged into the midst to find his death. We all went after him, our swords at play, but here first, from the temple gable's height, we met a hail of missiles from our friends. Pitiful execution by their error, who thought us Greek from our Greek plumes and shields. Then with a groan of anger, seeing the virgin wrested from them, Danaans from all sides rallied and attacked us. Fiery Ajax, Atreus' sons, Dolopians in a mass, as, when a cyclone breaks, conflicting winds will come together, west wind, south wind, east wind, riding high out of the dawnland. Forests bend and roar, and raging all in a spume, Nereus with his trident churns the deep. Then some whom we had taken by surprise under cover of night throughout the city and driven off, came back again. They knew our shields and arms for liars now, our speech alien to their own. They overwhelmed us. Coroebus fell at the warrior goddess's altar, killed by Peneleus. And Ripheus fell, a man uniquely just among the Trojans, a soul of equity. But the gods would have it differently. Hippanes Demas died, shot down by friends, nor did your piety, Panthus, nor Apollo's fillet shield you as you went down. Ashes of Ilium, flames that consumed my people. Here I swear that in your downfall I did not avoid one weapon, one exchange with the Danaans, and even if it had been fated, my own hand had earned my death. But we were torn away from that place, Iphitus and Pelias too, one slow with age, one wounded by Ulysses, called by a clamor at the hall of Priam. Truly, we found here a prodigious fight, as though there were none elsewhere, not a death in the whole city. Mars gone berserk, Danaans in a rush to scale the roof, the gate besieged by a tortoise shell of overlapping shields. Ladders clung to the wall, and men strove upward before the very doorposts, on the rungs, left hand putting the shield up, and the right reaching for the cornice. The defenders wrenched out upper works and roof tiles, these for missiles as they saw the end, preparing to fight back even on the edge of death. And gilded beams, ancestral ornaments, they rolled down on the heads below. In hall, others with swords drawn held the entrance way, packed there, waiting. Now we plucked up heart to help the royal house, to give our men a respite, and to add our strength to theirs, though all were beaten. And we had for entrance a rear door, secret, giving on a passage between the palace halls. In other days, Andromache, poor lady, often used it, going alone to see her husband's parents, or taking Astyanax to his grandfather. I climbed high on the roof, where hopeless men were picking up and throwing futile missiles. Here was a tower like a promontory, rising toward the stars above the roof. All Troy, the Danaan ships, the Achaean camp, were visible from this. Now close beside it, with crowbars, were the flooring made loose joints. We pried from its bed and pushed it over. Down with a rending crash in sudden ruin, wide over the Danaan lines it fell. But fresh troops moved up, and the rain of stones with every kind of missile never ceased. Just at the outer doors of the vestibule sprang Pyrrhus, all in bronze and glittering as a serpent, hidden, swollen underground by a cold winter, writhes into the light, on vile grass fed, his old skin cast away, renewed and glossy, rolling slippery coils, with lifted underbelly rearing sunward, and triple tongue a-flicker. Close beside him, giant Periphas and Altamedon, his armor-bearer, once Achilles' driver, besiege the place with all the young of Scyros, hurling their torches at the palace roof. Pyrrhus, shouldering forward with an axe, broke down the stony threshold, forced apart hinges and brazen door jambs, and chopped through one panel of the door, splitting the oak to make a window, a giant breach. And there, before their eyes, the inner halls lay open, the courts of Priam and the ancient kings, with men at arms ranked in the vestibule. From the interior came sounds of weeping, pitiful commotion, wails of women, high-pitched, rising in the formal chambers to ring against the silent golden stars. And through the palace mothers, wild with fright, ran to and fro or clung to doors and kissed them. Pyrrhus, with his father's brawn, stormed on. No bolts or bars or men availed to stop him. Under his battering, the double doors were torn out of their sockets and fell inward. Sheer force cleared the way. The Greeks broke through into the vestibule, cut down the guards, and made the wide hall seethe with men at arms. A tumult greater than when dikes are burst, and a foaming river, swirling out in flood, whelms every parapet and races on through fields and over all the lowland plains, bearing off pens and cattle. I myself saw Neoptolemus, furious with blood, in the entrance-way, saw the two Atridae. Hecuba I saw, and her 100 daughters, Priam before the altars with his blood drenching the fires that he himself had blessed. Those 50 bridal chambers, hope of a line so flourishing, those doorways, high and proud, adorned with takings of barbaric gold, were all brought low. Fire had them, or the Greeks. What was the fate of Priam, you ask? Seeing his city captive, seeing his own royal portals rent apart, his enemies in the inner rooms, the old man uselessly put on his shoulders, shaking with old age, armor unused for years, belted a sword on, and made for the massed enemy to die. Under the open sky in a central court stood a big altar. Near it a laurel tree of great age, leaning over, in deep shade, embowered the Penates. At this altar Hecuba and her daughters, like white doves blown down in a black storm, clung together, enfolding holy images in their arms. Now, seeing Priam in a young man's gear, she called out, "My poor husband, what mad thought drove you to buckle on those weapons? Where are you trying to go? The time is past for help like this, for this kind of defending. Even if my own Hector could be here. Come to me now. The altar will protect us, or else you'll die with us." She drew him close, heavy with years, and made a place for him to rest on the consecrated stone. Now see, Polites, one of Priam's sons, escaped from Pyrrhus' butchery, and on the run through enemies and spears, down colonnades, through empty courtyards, wounded. Close behind comes Pyrrhus, burning for the death stroke. He has him, catches him now, and lunges with his spear. The boy has reached his parents, and before them goes down, pouring out his life with blood. Now Priam, in the very midst of death, would neither hold his peace nor spare his anger. "For what you've done, for what you've dared," he said, "if there is care in heaven for atrocity, may the gods render fitting thanks, reward you as you deserve. You forced me to look on at the destruction of my son, defiled a father's eyes with death. That great Achilles you claim to be the son of, and you lie, was not like you to Priam, his enemy. To me, who threw myself upon his mercy, he showed compunction, gave me back for burial the bloodless corpse of Hector, and returned me to my own realm." The old man threw his spear with feeble impact. Blocked by ringing bronze, it hung there harmless from the jutting boss. Then Pyrrhus answered, "You'll report the news to Pelides, my father. Don't forget my sad behavior, the degeneracy of Neoptolemus. Now die." And with this, to the altar step itself he dragged him trembling, slipping in the pooled blood of his son, and took him by the hair with his left hand. The sword flashed in his right, up to the hilt. He thrust it in his body. That was the end of Priam's age, the doom that took him off. With Troy in flames before his eyes, his towers headlong fallen, he that in other days had ruled in pride so many lands and peoples, the power of Asia, on the distant shore, the vast trunk headless lies without a name. And for the first time that night, inhuman shuddering took me head to foot. I stood unmanned, and my dear father's image came to mind, as our king, just his age, mortally wounded, gasped his life away before my eyes. Creusa came to mind too, left alone, the house plundered, danger to little Iülus. I looked around to take stock of my men, but all had left me, utterly played out, giving their beaten bodies to the fire, or plunging from the roof. It came to this, that I stood there alone, and then I saw, lurking beyond the door-sill of the Vesta, in hiding, silent in that place reserved, the daughter of Tyndareus. Glare of fires lighted my steps this way and that, my eyes glancing over the whole scene everywhere. That woman, terrified of the Trojans' hate for the city overthrown, terrified, too, of Danaan vengeance, her abandoned husband's anger after years, Helen, that fury, both to her own homeland and Troy, had gone to earth, a hated thing before the altars. Oh, now fires blazed up in my own spirit, a passion to avenge my fallen town and punish Helen's whorishness. Shall this one look untouched on Sparta and Mycenae, after her triumph going like a queen, and see her home and husband, kin and children, with Trojan girls for escort, Phrygian slaves? Must Priam perish by the sword for this? Troy burn for this? Dardania's littoral be soaked in blood so many times for this? Not by my leave. I know no glory comes of punishing a woman. The feat can bring no honor. Still, I'll be approved for snuffing out a monstrous life, for a just sentence carried out. My heart will teem with joy in this avenging fire, and the ashes of my kin will be appeased. So ran my thoughts. I turned wildly upon her, but at that moment, clear before my eyes, never before so clear, in a pure light, stepping before me, radiant through the night, my loving mother came, immortal, tall, and lovely as the lords of heaven know her. Catching me by the hand, she held me back, then with her rose-red mouth reproved me. Son, why let such suffering goad you on to fury past control? Where is your thoughtfulness for me, for us? Will you not first revisit the place you left your father, worn and old? Or find out if your wife, Creusa, lives, and the young boy Ascanius? All these cut off by Greek troops foraging everywhere? Had I not cared for them, fire would by now have taken them. Their blood glutted the sword. You must not hold the woman of Laconia, that hated face, the cause of this, nor Paris. The harsh will of the gods it is, the gods, that overthrows the splendor of this place, and brings Troy from her height into the dust. Look, over there! I'll tear away the cloud that curtains you and films your mortal sight, the fog around you. Have no fear of doing your mother's will, or balk at obeying her. Look, where you see high masonry thrown down, stone torn from stone with billowing smoke and dust, Neptune is shaking from their beds the walls that his great trident pried up, undermining. toppling the whole city down. And look, Juno, in all her savagery, holds the Scaean gates, and raging in steel armor, calls her allied army from the ships. Up on the citadel, turn, look, Pallas Tritonia, couched in a storm cloud, lightening with her Gorgon. The Father himself empowers the Danaans, urges assaulting gods on the defenders. Away, child, put an end to toiling so. I shall be near to see you safely home. She hid herself in the deep gloom of night, and now the dire forms appeared to me of great immortals, enemies of Troy. I knew the end then. Ilium was going down in fire, the Troy of Neptune going down, as in high mountains when the countrymen have notched an ancient ash, then make their axes ring with might and main, chopping away to fell the tree, ever on the point of falling, shaken through all its foliage, and the treetop nodding. Bit by bit the strokes prevail, until it gives a final groan at last, and crashes down in ruin from the height. Now I descended where the goddess guided, clear of the flames and clear of enemies, for both retired. So gained my father's door, my ancient home. I looked for him at once, my first wish being to help him to the mountains. But with Troy gone, he set his face against it, not to prolong his life or suffer exile. "The rest of you all in your prime," he said, "make your escape. You are still hale and strong. If heaven's lords had wished me a longer span, they would have saved this home for me. I call it more than enough that once before I saw my city taken and wrecked, and went on living. Here is my deathbed, here! Take leave of me! Depart now! I'll find death with my sword arm. The enemy will oblige. They'll come for spoils. Burial can be dispensed with. All these years I've lingered in my impotence, at odds with heaven, since the Father of gods and men breathed high winds of thunderbolt upon me, and touched me with his fire. He spoke on in the same vein, inflexible. The rest of us, Creusa and Ascanius and the servants, begged him in tears not to pull down with him our lives as well, adding his own dead weight to the fate's pressure. He would not budge. He held to his resolve and to his chair. I felt swept off again to fight in misery, longing for death. What choices now were open? What chance had I? Oh, did you suppose, my father, that I could tear myself away and leave you? Unthinkable! How could a father say it? Now, if it please the powers above that nothing stand of this great city, if your heart is set on adding your own death and ours to that of Troy, the door's wide open for it. Pyrrhus will be here, splashed with Priam's blood. He kills the son before his father's eyes, and the father at the altars. My dear mother, was it for this, through spears and fire, you brought me to see the enemy deep in my house, to see my son Ascanius, my father, and near them both Creusa butchered in one another's blood? My gear, men, bring my gear! The last light calls the conquered. Give me back to the Greeks! Let me take up the combat once again! We shall not all die this day unavenged! And I buckled on sword belt and blade and slid my left forearm into the shield strap, turning to go out. But at the door Creusa hugged my knees, then held up little Iulus to his father. If you are going out to die, take us to face the whole thing with you. If experience leads you to put some hope in weaponry, such as you now take, guard your own house here. When you have gone, to whom is Iulus left? Your father? Wife? One called that long ago. She went on, and her wailing filled the house. But then a sudden portent came, a marvel. Amid his parents' hands and their sad faces, a point on Iulus's head seemed to cast light. A tongue of flame that touched but did not burn him, licking his fine hair, playing round his temples. We, in a panic, beat at the flaming hair and put the sacred fire out with water. Father Anchises lifted his eyes to heaven and lifted up his hands, his voice in joy. Omnipotent Jupiter, if prayers affect you, look down upon us, that is all I ask. If by devotion to the gods we earn it, grant us a new sign and confirm this portent. Oh, the old man barely finished when it thundered. A loud crack on the left. Out of the sky, through depths of night, a star fell trailing flame and glided on, turning the night to day. We watched it pass above the roof and go to hide its glare, its trace in Ida's wood. But still, behind the luminous furrow shone, and wide zones fumed with sulphur. Oh, now indeed my father, overcome, addressed the gods, and rose in worship of the blessed star. Oh, now, no more delay, I'll follow you. Where you conduct me, there I'll be. Gods of my fathers, preserve this house, preserve my grandson. Yours this portent was. Troy's life is in your power. I yield. I go as your companion, son. Then he was still. We heard the blazing town crackle more loudly. We felt the scorching heat. Oh, then come, dear father, arms around my neck. I'll take you on my shoulders, no great weight. Whatever happens, both will face one danger, find one safety. Iulus will come with me. my wife at a good interval behind. Servants, give your attention to what I say. At the gate inland there's a funeral mound and an old shrine of Ceres the bereft. Near it, an ancient cypress kept alive for many years by our fathers' piety. By various routes we'll come to that one place. Father, carry our hearth gods, our penates. It would be wrong for me to handle them, just come from such hard-fighting, bloody work, until I wash myself in a running river. When I had said this, over breadth of shoulder and bent neck I spread out a lion's skin for tawny cloak and stooped to take his weight. Then little Iulus put his hand in mine and came with shorter steps beside his father. My wife fell in behind. Through shadowed places on we went, and I, lately unmoved by any spears thrown, any squads of Greeks, felt terror now at every eddy of wind, alarm at every sound, alert and worried alike for my companion and my burden. I had got near the gate, and now I thought we had made it all the way, when suddenly a noise of running feet came near at hand, and peering through the gloom ahead, my father cried out, "Run, boy! Here they come! I see flame light on shields, bronze shining!" And I took fright, and some unfriendly power, I know not what, stole all my addled wits. For as I turned aside from the known path, entering a maze of pathless places on the run, alas, Creusa, taken from us by grim fate, did she linger, or stray, or sink in weariness? There is no telling. Never would she be restored to us. Never did I look back, or think to look for her, lost as she was, until we reached the funeral mound and shrine of venerable Ceres. Here at last all came together, but she was not there. She alone failed her friends, her child, her husband. Out of my mind, whom did I not accuse? What man or god? What crueler loss had I beheld? That night the city fell. Ascanius, my father, and the two Crean penates I left in my friend's charge, and hid them well in a hollow valley. I turned back alone into the city, cinching my bright harness. Nothing for it but to run the risks again, to go back again, comb all of Troy, and put my life in danger as before. First by the town wall, then the gate, all gloom, through which I had come out, and so on backward, tracing my own footsteps through the night. And everywhere my heart misgave me, even stillness had its terror. Then to our house, thinking she might, just might, have wandered there. Danaans had got in and filled the place, and at that instant fire they had set, consuming it, went roofward in a blast. Flames leaped and seethed in heat to the night sky. I pressed on, to see Priam's hall and tower. In the bare colonnades of Juno's shrine, 2 chosen guards, Phoenix and hard Ulysses, kept watch over the plunder. Piled up here were treasures of old Troy from every quarter, torn out of burning temples, altar tables, robes, and golden bowls. Drawn up around them, boys and frightened mothers stood in line. I even dared to call out in the night. I filled the streets with calling. In my grief, time after time, I groaned and called Creusa, frantic in endless quest from door to door. Then, to my vision, her sad wraith appeared, Creusa's ghost, larger than life before me, chilled to the marrow. I could feel the hair on my head rise, the voice caught in my throat. But she spoke out to ease me of my fear. What's to be gained by giving way to grief so madly, my dear husband? Nothing here has come to pass except as heaven willed. You may not take Creusa with you now. It was not so ordained. Nor does the Lord of high Olympus give you leave, for you long exile waits, and long sea miles to plough. You shall make landfall on Hesperia, where Lydian Tiber flows with gentle pace between rich farmlands, and the years will bear glad peace, a kingdom, and a queen for you. Dismiss these tears for your beloved Creusa. I shall not see the proud homelands of Myrmidons, or of Dolopians, or go to serve Greek ladies, Dardan lady that I am, and daughter-in-law of Venus the divine. No, the great mother of the gods detains me here on these shores. Farewell now, cherish still your son and mine. With this, she left me weeping, wishing that I could say so many things, and faded on the tenuous air. 3 times I tried to put my arms around her neck, 3 times enfolded nothing, as the wraith slipped through my fingers, bodiless as wind, or like a flitting dream. So in the end, as night waned, I rejoined my company, and there to my astonishment I found new refugees in a great crowd, men and women gathered for exile, young, pitiful people coming from every quarter, minds made up with their belongings for whatever lands I'd lead them to by sea. The morning star now rose on Ida's ridges, bringing day. Greeks had secured the city gates. No help or hope of help existed. So I resigned myself, picked up my father, and turned my face toward the mountain range.